Hello guys and welcome to a new video, and today's video is an important one as Activision made a lot of big changes to the classes in the new season 7 and it can be a little bit confusing, but I'm here to clear your confusion as I'll be going through these changes, explaining them in more details so that you guys know what to expect and how to adapt to these changes. So there will be two parts to this video. First of all, I'll explain the new profession system and how it affects the classes, and in the second part I'll go through the other individual changes they made to certain classes. I hope you guys find this video useful, and let's get started. Let's start with the first part. What they did is add something new called class professions. And in order to understand the new changes, we need to understand how the class professions work. So there are a total of 5 professions, and each one comes with a unique passive. And then they divided all the current classes into these professions. So first of all, we have the Disruptor profession, and its passive basically gives you speed boost after activating the skill. It includes a total of 5 classes: the Trickster, the Trap Master, the Smoke Bomber, the Rewind, and the Hacker. So let's take the Trickster for example. Without an upgrade and after activating the skill, you get a speed boost for a total of 5 seconds. And after upgrading the class, the speed boost duration doubles, increasing to 10 seconds. One thing you guys need to keep in mind that the profession passive applies to all the classes within that profession. So in the Disruptor profession, the speed duration applies to all the other classes shown here. 5 seconds boost without an upgrade and 10 seconds boost after the upgrade. But the question here is what happens with classes that has more than one charge. For example, the Trap Master has 4 charges in it. So what happens if I use the skill twice in a row? Does the speed boost stack or not? And the answer is no. As soon as you activate the skill for the second time, the first speed boost cancels and another boost starts immediately. But anyway, the fact that you can get multiple speed boosts is just ridiculous. Because if you think about it, you have 4 traps, which means you can have 4 speed boosts available. And if you manage to find a legendary fast ADS mod, then you're gonna be speed boosting non-stop and probably end up traveling back in time. Next, we have the Assassin profession, and just to make one thing clear, this passive doesn't make you completely silent. It only reduces the movement noise, making it harder for the enemy to hear your footsteps. It includes a total of 3 classes: the Ninja class, the Poltergeist, and the Pumped class. Now there are 2 things to consider when dealing with the Assassin enemies: the movement sound itself and the footsteps indicator range, because they're different. So first of all, you should know that you can hear enemies that don't have the Assassin passive within 50 meters range. However, if you go against an enemy that has an Assassin passive, like the Ninja class for example, then the hearing range is different, but only if it's upgraded. So if the enemy is using a Ninja class without an upgrade, then you can still hear them within 50 meters. However, if the enemy has an upgraded Ninja class, then you can only hear them from 43 meters instead of 50 meters. Second of all, the footsteps indicator icon. So for the other normal classes that doesn't belong to the Assassin passive, the indicator starts showing up at 27 meters range. However, if the enemy is using a class that has the Assassin passive, then the footsteps indicator range becomes shorter. So for example, the enemy here is using a Ninja class without an upgrade. And as you can see, the indicator starts to show up within 20 meters range instead of 27 meters. And after they upgrade their Ninja class, the range reduces to 17 meters only.
The revived flight will arrive in 1 minute.
Again, this applies to all the other classes within the Assassin passive. The same hearing distance and the same footsteps indicator distance. And don't forget that the Assassin enemies are harder to hear compared to the other classes because they make less noise. Especially when you're busy in a gunfight or when there are vehicles driving around you. They can still sneak up on you, so watch your back. After that, we have the Rebound profession. It has a passive that reduces the recovery time. That includes both healing up and reviving your teammates. and it includes two classes only, the medic class and the refitter class. So let's start with the healing first. Using a kinetic shield with other classes like the ninja for example takes 8 seconds. However, when you use the medic or the refitter class, the time reduces to 6 seconds. And after upgrading the medic or the refitter class, the time reduces even more, taking 4.8 seconds only. As for reviving your teammates, other classes take a total of 7 seconds. But when you use the medic or the refitter classes, without an upgrade it takes 5.3 seconds. And after the upgrade it takes 4.2 seconds only. Moving on to the Fortress Profession. It actually has two passives. First of all, it reduces the damage taken from explosives. And second of all, it reduces the impact of negative effects. And it includes 4 classes. The Defender class, the Desperado class, the Spotter class, and the new class Igniter, which hasn't been released yet. So let's start with the first passive, which reduces the damage taken from explosives. That includes SMRs, FHJ, grenades, even the explosion you get after a spicy lunch in an Indian restaurant. Basically anything that goes boom. And in this example, I'm gonna take a direct hit from an SMRs. So first of all, I'm gonna use the Ninja class without the Fortress perk and without any damage reduction. And as you can see, I almost died, losing a total of 290 HP. Now let's try the Defender class, which has the Fortress passive and the explosives damage reduction. So I'm gonna take the exact same SMRS rocket from the exact same distance, aimed at the exact same spot. So thanks to the Fortress passive, the damage was reduced to 219. And it gets even better, because after upgrading the Defender class, I only lost 174 HP. As for the second passive of the Fortress, it reduces the impact of negative effects. I really wish they mentioned what the negative effects are exactly. That would have saved me a lot of time, but instead I had to test every negative effect I can think of. For example, I checked if it reduces the slowing down from getting hit by a trap, and it doesn't. Then I checked if it reduces the hack duration, and again, it doesn't. So far, I found out that it only works against stuns. This includes stuns coming from flashbangs, concussion grenades, and guess what? Surprisingly, it also works against stuns coming from the Defender class. So in this example, we're gonna see how long it takes for Siren to remove her hand from her face after getting stunned. On the left with the normal ninja class without the passive, and in the middle with the Defender class that has the passive but without an upgrade. And on the right with an upgraded Defender class and with the explosive damage reduction passive. As you can see, there is a noticeable difference. So the same thing applies against other enemy Defender users, as it slightly reduces the stun duration. Now I'm not sure if there are any other negative effects that works with this passive, but reducing the Defender shield stun alone can be very useful. And again, these two passives applies to all the classes within the Fortress Profession. And finally, we have the Observer Profession. In here it says that the passive allows you to hear footsteps from a longer distance, which is wrong, or rather not accurate. As I mentioned earlier, the hearing distance remains the same for all the classes, which is 50 meters. But what it does, first of all, it allows you to hear them slightly louder, and second of all, and most importantly, the footsteps indicator starts showing up from a further distance. So this profession includes 4 classes: the Scout, the Clown, the Mechanic, and the Airborne. And to explain how it works, I'll go with the Scout class. And we'll see how the Observer works against classes with the Assassin passive and the classes without the Assassin passive. This can be very confusing because we have 4 different scenarios to consider. So I need you to stop getting distracted by whatever's around you, and I need you to focus on what I'm about to say. First of all, let's see how it works against normal classes without the Assassin passive. So in the first scenario, we're both using normal classes. I'm using a Defender class that doesn't have the Observer passive, passive, and the enemy is also using a defender class that doesn't have the assassin passive. So the footsteps indicator starts showing up at 27 meters range. In other words, 27 meters is the normal footsteps indicator range for all the classes that doesn't belong to the assassin profession. In the second scenario, I'm using a scout class that has the observer passive, and the enemy is still using defender class that doesn't have the assassin passive. So thanks to the scout and its observer passive, the indicator range increased to 38 meters instead of 27. Moving on to the third scenario. In this scenario, I'll be using a defender class that doesn't have the observer passive, and the enemy is using a ninja class which has the assassin passive that reduces movement noises. So the footsteps indicator started showing up at 20 meters range. And finally, in the fourth scenario, I'll be using a scout class again with the observer passive, and the enemy will continue using ninja class with the reduced movement noises. So as a result, the indicator range increased to 30 meters. So the observer passive basically counters the assassin passive. And by the way, there are three things to keep in mind. First of all, it doesn't matter if the enemy ninja is upgraded or not. The observer classes will always reveal the footsteps indicator within 30 meters. The second thing to keep in mind that upgrading the observer classes, and in this case the scout class, does not affect the range of the footsteps indicator. And the last thing that you guys need to know, in an actual game the footsteps indicator is actually glitched. I mean, it's working fine most of the time, but sometimes it only shows within 10 meters or 5 meters. That can be caused by many reasons like your ping or the enemy's ping, and it can be caused by desync issues and so on. So keep that in mind. Now that we're done with the first part, we'll move on to the second one, as I'll be addressing the other changes they made to some of the classes, starting with the ninja class. So the ninja class received a buff and a nerf at the same time. First of all, they increased the number of hooks available. So now without an upgrade, you get 2 hooks instead of 1. And after the upgrade, you get 3 hooks instead of 2. As for the nerf, the ninja doesn't have silent footsteps anymore, because in Season 6, the ninja class can be heard within 12 meters only, and it becomes fully silent after that. But in the new Season 7, you can hear it within 50 meters without an upgrade, and 43 meters after the upgrade. Not only that, the footsteps indicator was also affected, because in Season 6, ninja enemies' footsteps indicator starts showing up within 4 meters only. But in the new Season 7, it shows up within 20 meters without an upgrade, and 17 meters with the upgrade. Not to mention that the observer classes increases the indicator range detection up to 30 meters. This will significantly affect this class. And as a ninja user, I'm a little bit sad to see that the ninja isn't silent anymore. But then I remember that the enemy ninjas are also not silent anymore, and the fact that awareness plays a bigger part in the game now. Next, we have the Trickster. So they removed the old Trickster's passive, and you can't hear footsteps louder and from a longer distance anymore. And to compensate for that, they gave it a speed boost instead. And by the way, as far as I know, the Trickster already had a speed boost, but the new boost is actually better, because the movement speed is faster and the duration is longer. After that, we have the Airborne class. So they buffed this class by decreasing the skill cooldown. In Season 6, an Airborne class without an upgrade takes 1 minute and 14 seconds to recharge. But in Season 7, it takes exactly 1 minute. And after the upgrade in Season 6, it took 1 minute, but in Season 7, the cooldown was reduced to 50 seconds. It's also worth mentioning that this class now has 2 passives, because it still has the old lightweight passive, which allows you to fly for a longer distance. And then it has the new observer passive that allows you to hear movements from a longer distance. After that, we have the poltergeist. So they removed the speed buff you get in stealth mode, and instead they replaced it with the assassin passive, which is exactly the same as the ninja passive that I explained in the start. So it gives you a reduced movement noise. And by the way, you don't have to activate the skill to get the assassin passive. You will always have reduced movement noises with or without the skill. Next, we have the Trap Master. First of all, they removed the old passive. Your teammates no longer receive any boost to their movement speed or their skill recharge. And in Season 6, the speed boost used to stack and overall works differently. But in Season 7, it's fixed. You get the same movement speed and the same boost duration. They also reduced the cooldown speed. So in Season 6, without an upgrade, it took 42 seconds to recharge. And in Season 7, it takes 40 seconds. And after the upgrade, in Season 6 it took 33 seconds to recharge, but in Season 7 it takes 30 seconds instead. Next, we have the Smoke Bomber. In Season 6 you get a speed boost when you get damaged by the enemy. So they cancelled that, and now you get the boost when you use the skill. Which in my opinion is much better because you don't have to wait for the enemies to damage you to get the boost. The Refitter class also received a buff. So in Season 6, it only had one charge in it with and without the upgrade. But in the new Season 7, they added one more charge, so now we get two charges with and without the upgrade. In addition to that, the Refitter now has two passives. First of all, we already know that it has the new Rebound passive, which allows you to heal faster and revive your teammates faster. In addition to that, the Refitter class gets to keep the old passive from Season 6, which allows you to repair damaged vehicles. I honestly think this is the best change in the new season, because now with the Refitter class, you and your team can have fully stacked armors easily and more frequently, which can be a lifesaver, as it increases the chances of not getting one-shotted by shotgun players, plus the Rebound passive advantages. And together, I think more players will start using this class, especially in tournaments. Another needed change was done to the Spotter class. The old passive showed winged enemies near you, which was completely useless, because they added that as a feature to all the other classes. And to fix it, they removed the old passive and instead they replaced it with the Fortress passive. And finally, they removed the old Rewind passive, which was kinda useless. I mean, it can be a bit useful against grenades, but nobody really uses flashbangs and concussion grenades. So instead, they replaced it with the Disruptor passive, which gives you a speed boost when you use the skill. And that, in my opinion, makes the Rewind class even more stronger than last season, and easily one of the best classes in the game this season. Now to the final part of the video, I want to mention the other classes that received a new passive as well as still having their old passive. So basically they have two passives instead of one. First of all, the Hacker class. It still has its old passive hardwired, which prevents many negative effects. And the perfect way to show the power of this passive is against the Mechanic class, as it completely shuts it down. If you're using a Hacker class, you won't be slowed down, you can move freely, your minimap will be visible, and all your buttons will be available. In other words, the Mechanic is literally useless against the Hacker class. Second of all, the Desperado class. It still has its old passive Last Stand, which allows you to continue fighting with a pistol after getting knocked, but I still don't think it's enough to make it usable. Next, we have the Scout class. It still has the old passive Tracker, which shows enemy footsteps on the ground. And again, just like the Desperado class, having two passives still isn't enough to make it a top choice. And finally, the Mechanic. It still has its old passive Engineer, which allows you to see vehicles and utilities like the Airborne within 80 meters range. And it used to reveal enemy traps placed on the ground, but they cancelled that. That was everything for today's video. I really hope you guys find it useful, and I hope it clears your confusion. And if you do find it useful, then kindly leave a like on your way out and share it with your friends. That would mean a lot to me for all the time and effort I put into the testing and the editing of this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.